Hi, I'm Jeremy Swihart of J Squared Outdoor, and I am a hardscaper.
Okay, Jeremy, let's get started to get to know a little bit more about yourself. Can you tell us how you got started in the hardscaping industry?
Yeah, basically, probably like everybody else, started when I was 14 years old, mowing grass in the neighborhood, and kind of got running around mowing everybody's lawn from there. I started to kind of get into it a little bit more. I'm like, 15, 16 years old, reading landscape magazines at school and hanging out on lawn side all night, and really didn't have much of a life besides getting into hardscape and landscaping and stuff like that. So that's how I started, and then turned 16, bought an S10 truck and a trailer, and started running around doing mowing lawns. And quickly I realized, I needed to get a little bit more education and learn a lot more because there's a whole lot to learn in the business. So I ended up going down to UC and University of Cincinnati for horticulture science. And from there, I worked for other landscapers and kind of got my foot in the door, learning about every aspect of the business, and then went off on my own.
Awesome. So, what made you decide that you were going to transfer from lawn care into this hardscape landscape construction industry?
I think that's kind of just was the natural turn of things because you're out there mowing grass and everyone's like, hey, want to build this wall for me or do these pavers? And, you start to look at it and you say, okay, I can do that. And then you start to get into it and you realize, oh, shoot, there's a whole lot more to this I had no clue about. So that's kind of, I like to learn and like to go into kind of follow the rabbit hole. So that's what I did.
How did you get to where you are now with where you are at with your business? What was kind of the progression from owning a lawn care business towards creating what you have now on your hands in terms of getting the clients on board to for hardscape construction?
When I quit doing landscape or lawn care, I sold all the clientele. I sold all the accounts, and then I started working for other landscapers. So what I was doing was kind of learning from everything that they did, and on weekends and evenings, I started doing some side work and started getting jobs from people from the gym, from people I knew, and started getting it that way. And then you do one job, and then the neighbor calls you, and then next thing you know, you got a whole line of people. And it got to the point where I eventually was like, all right, I can't do all this. So I quit my job and got into just doing hardscaping. So that was or doing outdoor living, I guess.
Hmm. Now, has the process of acquiring these customers for hardscaping has that changed over the years? Like from the beginning, what was your main source of getting leads? And then today, what is your main source of getting leads?
Yeah, at the beginning, you can pretty much sustain yourself on word of mouth. But as you grow and you've got employees and you've got to keep crews going, we've gotten a little bit more into advertising. So we're on Houzz, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we do the targeted ads on Facebook, just to keep a little bit of extra work on top of the work that comes word of mouth, which we still get.
Now, have you found one of those ways of acquiring these leads? Have you found it one of them being more valuable than the other? Like, especially in terms of the amount of money that you're putting into it. For example, the Facebook ads, retargeting, and all that, compared to something like Houzz. Have you found something to be more valuable for your business?
House has been pretty good. It's pretty consistent. It's a little expensive when you compare it to Facebook, but I think everything's expensive when you compare it to Facebook. Facebook's just so cheap, and it seems like you can throw $50 on Facebook and you've got leads coming in. So Facebook is really, really good if you target it properly, and basically that means target your geographic location, keep it really tight, and boost the work that you really want to get.
It seems to be hit and miss because in our area, not a lot of people sign up for it. But have you found that the customers coming in through Houzz are very well qualified and they are the type of customers that you want? And what about Facebook? Are you getting the customers that you want? Are you getting more tire kickers? Because I know if you sign up for something like a free classified ad, you're gonna get, some less valuable customers if we talk a little bit about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say on House, it seems like people that do reach out, it's less people that reach out, but they seem to be more qualified and they seem to have done more research on your business. Just, I guess, maybe the way the House page is set up. So they're pretty good when they come in on House typically. Facebook, generally they're pretty good. Sometimes they are tire kickers, but probably 50-50 on Facebook, whereas House is 75-25.
Gotcha. So once one of these customers reach out to you, they're interested in getting you out to do an estimate or consultation. Where do you take it from there, in terms of, getting that customer on the phone or communicating through email with them? What kind of questions are you asking them in terms of setting up that first consultation?
Always going to get them on the phone as quickly as I can. You can't really go back and forth on email to set up the initial consultation. I need to talk to them on the phone. I need to get a feel for who they are, what they're trying to accomplish, if they're a good fit. So when I get them on the phone, it's just a quick chat, but I just want to make sure that they're the right fit for us before we go out and meet with them. I'm going to ask them things like what kind of project they're doing, what their timeline is, what their budget is. Have they done anything like this before? I'm also going to try to get, if they just want a patio or something like that, I want to know how big it's going to be roughly. So, they don't ever know exactly how big it's, but they could say like 20 by 30. And you can kind of shoot some rough ballpark numbers at that point just to make sure we're in the same field as far as cost goes. Because a lot of people will call us and say, hey, I want this 500 square foot patio, and they think it's going to be $500 or something crazy like that. But if they're like, yeah, it's going to be, we know we're going to spend 20 grand, then you're onto something and you can kind of set up some appointments. If they have no clue, a lot of times I'll have them send me some pictures, just text them to me. And I can say, okay, if we're going to throw a patio on this backyard, it's going to be kind of in this ballpark. And sometimes I'll say, oh my God, I didn't think it was going to be that expensive. But a lot of times that's a good way to get people going in your direction too quickly.
Now, what about that first consultation? Do you charge for consultations in your business?
Yeah, we do. Typically, it's $100 for us to come out and meet with them. That's not always the case. If they're close by, right down the road from our shop, we'll generally waive that, and just depending on the time of year. But that keeps us from running around chasing every lead.
Mm-hmm. And then in terms of your decision to charge a consultation fee, can you speak a little bit on that?
It just depends on the situation. I should say that also if someone's like a referral, if they know us somehow, we won't charge it then. It's kind of a discretionary thing, but it keeps us from, and the way I explain it to people is, look, I've got a life, I've got a lot of things to do. I'm going to give you some expert opinion. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you a vision of, even if I'm not going to throw it on a design at this point, what the advice that I give you is going to save you a lot of money, and it's going to get you what you want faster. So it's worth every penny to you, and it compensates me for my time. And generally, I don't have much pushback from that. Of course, there is people that don't want to pay that, but generally people are pretty cool with that. Once you explain it to them, they understand that your time's valuable.
Yeah, and definitely a good way to vet the customer too, in terms of whether they're serious about the job or if they're just a tire kicker. So I can definitely see a lot of positives coming from that initial consultation charge. And in terms of that first initial meeting, what are you bringing with you to that meeting in terms of, maybe some samples, or do you have like a tablet showing some of your work? What are you kind of bringing into that meeting to show them, some ideas that you can throw their way?
All I'm bringing to the first meeting is a notebook and a business card, and that's it. I'm there to listen to what they're going to tell me. I'm walking around with them and letting them lead the way. I don't want to confuse the situation. I don't want to start interjecting a whole lot. I just want to let them show me what they want. I can kind of describe things as we go if they have questions for me, but I'm really trying to listen. And that's a key, I think, that you don't want to confuse anything. You just want to write down what they're telling you and pay attention to what they're saying. Towards the end of the meeting, you can kind of explain to them what you think they should do, but I don't advise bringing samples and catalogs right away. Just let them guide the way.
Absolutely. So what kind of questions are you asking the customer to find out kind of what they are looking for and what kind of design that you can create for them?
Like I said, I'm just going to listen to what they say, and then if they're going to tell me, hey, I want a patio, and then I might ask, well, how big do you think it's going to be? And they're going to say, I'm not sure. What do you think it should be? And I'm going to ask them questions like, how are you going to use the space? Any kids do you have? Do you have pets? Things like that. Just it's pretty natural. You're just kind of asking them pretty general questions, kind of get an idea of what their style is and things like that. I really don't do a lot of talking on the first initial meeting, or the first part of the meeting at least. The whole point of the first meeting generally is just to sell a design. So let them kind of throw everything on you, what they want, and then you kind of explain to them, hey, in order to do this, I need to draw it up for you. I need to show you what I can do for you and how it's going to look and exactly where everything's going to go and exactly what everything's going to cost. And, you're trying to sell that design plan at that point.
So at that point, once you've got all that information and you've created a design for them, do you create another meeting with them to go through the design with them? Do you send it through an email for them to review and then talk with them over the phone? Where do you take it from there? Or is it kind of based on your situation?
99% of the time, I'm going to set up another appointment, and I'm going to bring the plan over with the proposal and do the whole presentation on their dining room table. Generally, unless it's something small or someone I've worked with before, I don't email the plans over. Print it out, a nice 24 by 36 sheet, roll it out on their table, make sure everybody's there, the decision makers are there, give them a proposal, and you try to get that contract signed when you bring that design over.
Now, in terms of the designs, what kind of software are you running? And can you talk us through your design process? Like, once you have the information from the client, and where do you take that design? How do you know what kind of features to include, and just the design of say a basic patio?
As far as the software I use, it's Dynascape. What you do is you just measure the whole house or the area that you're going to be working in. Just tape measure, and we'll use a zip level, kind of lay out the area, and start drawing. Now, as far as where everything goes and how you decide that, there's a lot to it. I would say, you've got the fundamental elements of design obviously to consider, and the functionality of the space and elevations and drainage and all that kind of thing. So as I lay it out on the computer, I'm just kind of considering all that stuff, and I will draw up a patio. Sometimes I'll draw it up 20 or 30 different ways and erase it and keep on doodling and sketching and until we get it right. So it's not a process. Generally, I don't know what's going to happen when I start laying it out. I let it kind of evolve as I'm working through it.
In terms of landing a job, the customer has the design, they like it, they're going for it. What do you do in terms of payment plans with that customer, and is this situational as well?
90% of what we do, it's a third down, it's a third when we start, and it's a balance on completion. Jobs that are over, let's say like 80 grand, we'll try to only leave about 10% on the table at the end, and then smaller jobs we might just collect like $100 deposit and collect the balance on completion. But most of the time it's a third, and a third, and that works out pretty well.
And Jeremy, I like to ask everybody that comes on a show about a horror story that they've had, and especially following that previous question about payment, because it seems like so many horror stories come from payments. Do you have a horror story with a customer that you'd want to share to help maybe a hardscaper out there put something in place to sort of avoid a situation that you got yourself into?
Yeah, I would say so. I've got a couple different things that have happened. So we did a larger job last summer, and that third, and a third. So they had my last third of the draw to pay us on completion. Pretty hefty sum of money. And right at the end of the job, the client came out and they said, "Hey, look, this wet cast product over here, this wet cast fire pit doesn't match this wet cast water feature." And it was maybe a little off. The manufacturers are a little bit off, whatever. So basically, he was trying to withhold pretty hefty sum of money based on that. So that's why it's kind of important on those larger jobs to only leave about 10% on the table. We were able to get it all fixed for him, and we got paid, but that could have turned out ugly. Another scenario is, and it happens a lot of times this time of year when you're booking out for May, June, July, and January. We were doing things like only taking $1,000 down on, say, a $50,000 or $60,000 job. That doesn't lock people in like you need them to be locked in for your job. So what was happening was people would give us $1,000. We'd schedule the job for them. We'd block out a couple weeks of time, say in May or June, and then they would cancel. And they're just gonna willy-nilly cancel over $1,000. They don't care. So you've got to get that full third that says, "Hey, I'm serious. I'm going to do the job. I'm not going to cancel on you and leave a hole right in the beginning of right in the middle or beginning of your season, wherever." So it's important to get that third down, and then on the bigger jobs, it's important not to leave too much on the table.
Yeah, excellent advice. And I want to kind of backtrack a little bit to go back to your designs, because something just popped up into my head with creating your designs. How do you know what style paver you are going to go with, whether it's textured, large stone, small stone? How do you get that feel from the customer that they're going to like this design that you're putting forth to them, considering the product that you're using in it?
A lot of times on the first initial meeting, I will at the end kind of describe to them like the pavers that we like to use or what I have in mind. We try to stick to, for our sake, anything that's large format because it installs pretty easy and fast. And that's what people like generally too. So if they don't have anything specific in mind, we'll kind of lean towards the larger format stuff. If they tell me they want something like a herringbone or something like that, we'll incorporate that. But generally they trust us to pick out their paver. And I don't suggest you leave it up to them either. I would suggest in your design, pick out the paver for them. They call us because we're designers. We're the ones that are going to pick things out for them. They don't know what looks good. They trust you to know what looks good. So give them one option on your proposal. This is the paver I think you should use. This is the paver that I chose and I priced the project on. And if they want to change it, that's fine. But generally, people are just going to trust you to pick out the best color and style for them.
Now, in terms of installation or just running your business in general, is there a certain tool or product on the market that you have your eyes on investing in 2020? Or maybe you've just recently purchased a product or a tool for your business that you're excited about implementing in 2020. Is there anything like that you'd want to talk about?
Yeah, we just bought one of those vacuum lifters. I think we're going to be using for like the Unilock Beacon Hill, stuff like that to install. I'm excited with that. I think we can try and use that on an excavator and do a lot of mechanical installations that way. We tried it out on some step treads and it seems to work, and flagstone. So we're going to try to go towards anything that we can use that on. Also, I'm curious about the Unilift and how that works. I think we're going to be demoing one of those here in the next week or so. So I'd be interested to see how that works, and that's a possibility for something to purchase. But I think anything that kind of eases the installation, eases the strain on employees is a plus, and definitely where our minds are going, efficiency and ease of use.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a lot on our podcast, these vacuum lifters, and not only how it's going to make everything easier for the installers, but it's also an employee retention tool as well. The employees that are using these products to install, they're not going to want to leave to go to another company that doesn't have this to install, to make their life even more difficult, right? So it's there's just so many positives with these vacuum lifters.
Yeah, exactly. You got to give them a place where they want to work and feel good about working there, for one, and then also feel good when they go home.
Now, what about in terms of installation? Anything that, your business lives by in terms of, base preparation or, products that you actually install? Anything that you love to see on any of your job sites in terms of the actual installation?
Yeah, we do pretty much all of our installations on open graded stone, and that's been huge. That allows us to work through rain and wintertime and nasty weather. We're always working. So open graded stone, and then on top of that using the alternative mats, the big plastic mats and plywood roads to get our machines in and out. That kind of stuff has just kept us working more days out of the year, which is awesome.
Do you have any people in the industry that you look to for advice or inspiration? Any mentors or people that, if you're in a little bit of a problem, you'll reach out to see what their advice would be, or maybe just design inspiration? Anybody like that you follow?
A ton of people on Instagram that I follow that do awesome work and awesome designs and things. A couple of people that have really been good friends to me and have bounced a lot of ideas off and given me a lot of feedback on would be Andy Mulder and Caleb Allman. Those guys have been really awesome to me and helped me out a ton the last several years. So definitely those guys. And there's just so many people on Instagram that are doing really neat work, and you can just reach out to anybody and say, hey, I got a question about this, and they'll answer you right away. It's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Now, wrapping this interview up, Jeremy, I'm sure since you started even your lawn care business, going as far back as that, all the way up until this point, you've learned so many different things in your business and being a business owner and in general as being a hardscaper. But I want to ask you, what's that one thing that you know now that you wish you'd known from the very beginning?
From the very beginning, I wish I would have hopped on LMN, the landscape management network software, and that's the software that we use to do our budget and estimating and understanding the numbers right from the very beginning. So it's only been the last couple of years that we've embraced that and have really started to understand how to be profitable. And had I done that a couple years sooner, I'd be a lot better off. But I definitely, if you're new to the business and just getting in, you need to hop on LMN or just at least understand really what it takes to be profitable and what your real net profit should be.
Yeah, excellent software, and just knowing your numbers is so crucial. As a business owner, absolutely great advice, Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining us here and taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jeremy, I just want to give you the floor. Let our audience know where they can find you online and anything else you want to leave them with.
You can check me out at J Squared Outdoor on Instagram and Facebook. And that's it, man. Just stay focused on your goals and you'll get there.